Okay, so what if we want to click on a building and make a building build something? So one of the things I'm going to show you really quick on why we do the building this way. If I look at this building and I say, oh, what is in this building? Like it's literally nothing. It's got, a layer. It's got a box collider and it has this thing named scan, right? So this is why the system, doing it this way with the manager, is really cool. Is if I look at, we'll go back into the Apocalypse and grab another building. And this will show you how easy this is to extend once you got it here. Right? Like for example, okay, we have tents. Let's do something. Let's do this preset one. It's a different size. So if I drag him out and I set him to that same layer, get rid of his mesh collider. We don't need it in this style. And go box collider, and I'm going to add an empty, and we're going to call it scan, and we'll call this command. And that is it. That's literally all it takes, right? Because now if I go and prefab the command, original prefab, and delete him, and go to the build manager, we'll make another prefill count. We now want the command, and we'll call it command. Now if I go to our little testing thing where this guy says send this event, the data tent, if we just change that to command and I hit play, unless Logic's going to make a liar out of me, everything's going to work just like that. Like that's all it is to add buildings, right? There's command, right? See, now you can't get it in there because it's a box collider. It's not a multi-box collider or a mesh collider. Which is kind of one of the limitations to the system, no doubt. But I could swap that back over to tent, click on it, now I have a tent. Alright, so pretty easy to add buildings now. Like I can literally sit here and add, like 100 buildings in a matter of like an hour. So, okay, that's cool, but what the hell do the buildings do, right? Like, what the hell? So, let's say our command. Let's say it needs to be able to build something. So, we need to be able to select it, right? So we have our FSM on the AI that does this stuff. So I'm going to copy that FSM and I'm going to put it on the command. And now if I look in my command, it also wants that ring. It doesn't have to be a ring. You could literally use anything. All right. If you wanted to use a shader and just shader properties or something, totally fine. So I'm going to copy the ring, go over to command, and paste. Ba-doop. Now obviously its size is going to be, way far off, and apparently we need to adjust where it is. But something like that. And now if I tell the command that its ring is this guy, to which we could also do that by, like, for example, let's rename that ring and go over to this guy, and where he has, you know, all this fun stuff. Right in the beginning, we could, where he has the deactivate, let's get child put him above the deactivate. We're looking for a child called ring. We'll call that, you know, the ring, and then, you know, deactivate the ring, right? And technically we should be able to template that and just throw it on everything, and then we never have to even look at it. We just drop the FSM on, and as long as something has, or everything has a ring, right? Because if I go here and if I say this is none now, right, like we don't fill it, and we hit play, and play now has, right, this should still be under the command. Yeah, got the command. And if I highlight him, he has the ring. Right now, obviously, I can't tell him to move. He doesn't have any logic to do that. Now, the ring is obviously for him sitting a little low because it's into the train. So we need to obviously fix that portion up. Big whoop. There we go. All right. And if you're in URP, you could create another a render hue thing and make that render over top of, say, like the train, so it wouldn't matter. Or you can make it render over everything, right? You would just see it then. So that's cool, but how do we get to build things? Like, say we want the command center to build our troops. So the first thing we're going to need is well, I'm just going to use panels because I don't really have any images. I'm going to make a panel and go 2D, go up here, and I am going to tell him to stretch along the bottom. And then I'm going to take this little thing, move it down like that. And then let's create another panel. And this one I am going to stick over, say, here, like that. And then in this guy, I am going to create a grid layout. So let's say we'll take those 40. Now, if I created do images into that, we'll say we'll get 9 of them. Now, that looks like crap, so we don't want that. So we want constraint fixed column count. Let's go 3. Let's give it some spacing. And I kind of like it just like that. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to take this thing, and we want to make it fit what we want. All right, cool. So I'm going to take this panel and make it fit what we want too, because we can do that. There we go. So there's a panel, and then we could also, you know, add a icon. There's an image, another image, and drag this over here. Anchor him to that side. And you know what? I'm going to anchor him to that corner too. They can both be anchored to that corner. So this could be the icon. and these can be our slots. And I could, let's darken those down a bit. Make it, attempt to make it a little nicer looking. I don't like the way that's sitting in there though, so I want to extend it just a slight bit. Or you know what, instead of that, let's just go 35s. And then we can just up these and set that more in the center. All right, so there we have this thing. And all we want to do is, if we select a unit, we want its icon to be in here. Right? So, how the hell do we do that? Well, in our selector, very easily, when we stop, when we come back here, this is where, right here in this blank area, we can tell it to look through our selected and adjust things in here. Just like that. So the one thing we're going to need is, say, let's build a new FSM just to keep it separate on, say, our soldier. Oh, we'll call this one stats. And maybe he's, let's open up the right thing. Let's call that stats because it didn't keep. And let's call it, let's give it a sprite. Call it icon. Make that an input. And for now, let's just leave it like that. Right, so we can save that. Copy that FSM and put it on the tent and the command. Paste component as new. Right, so our soldier would need a sprite. Well, I don't know if I have any good sprites for this. How about this, like, girl thing? Oh, that'll work. All right, so he now has, there we go. And then for our command, I also don't have any good sprites for him, but let's use something obviously different. Something somewhat representative of a command. There we go. There we go. Let's use all this neat little stuff here. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go back down to the bottom. I'm just going to grab our well. Okay. Now, ideally, you're going to want all your icons to be the same size so everything gets set up and nothing gets stretched and distorted. I'm just grabbing random sprites. But just for demonstration purposes. So, now we obviously can't show an icon here, or at least not the right icon, if we have a whole bunch of different units. Right? So, I think the easiest thing to do would be, we named it, make a template. So, we have the available. So, or we have this selected. So what we're going to do is array list get select. Array list get. That's what we want. And we're going to go with the selected here, and index 0. It's going to be a game object. This is our chosen unit. And we're just going to finish. Actually, I don't even need to finish right now. So we now need to get its sprite. Get FSM object. Not game object, object. Big difference. So we want it on this chosen unit, which is going to be, I'm just going to drag this guy in for references. So we're going to have an FSM called stats on everything, and everything is going to have an icon. Obviously we need a variable here. So this is the chosen icon. It's not a float though, it is type sprite. Boom. Right, so there we go, the chosen icon. So we're going to swap him over to the chosen unit, and we get his icon. Now the other thing is we need, especially if this is going to be a template, the template doesn't know about this stuff. Okay, so it needs to deal with that stuff. So I think the best thing we could do is actually right on this canvas. So canvas has, I don't know why I have that there, get rid of that. The canvas is going to be a manager, and all we're going to do is get owner, and he is going to be a new global variable called UI manager. Oh, we already have that name. Apparently I've already used that in a tutorial. So let's call him RTS UI manager. Right, and the manager can take in a property. We'll call it, what do we call this event? Show stats. Let's call it that. We're just going to call it show stats. So we're going to show stats. There we go. And in show stats, we want get event properties, because we're going to want to see a icon. So let's call the key icon. Type is going to be a sprite, to which we do not have here, so we choose object, and then we can choose object type, go down to Unity and go to sprite. Right there, we'll call it the incoming sprite, and then we can add more things. This is where this stuff would be populated. So now this manager, however, can now have all sorts of stuff. Set sprite UI image set sprite. Don't use the normal set sprite. Use the UI image, because they're talking to different components. I'll show you what I mean. So this icon uses an image, and that's a sprite. But if I build like an actual sprite, he uses a sprite renderer, which takes a sprite. And that's why there's two different actions, and that's why one action won't work. So we want to use the incoming sprite on, and I'm just going to drag him in now because he doesn't need to, he's part of the manager. They're all part of one system, so I can drag it in to that unit. So we just need to say show stats to this manager with a key of icon, and it's good, right? So again, if I go to the camera, where we're building our template, so we have this, we can now set event properties, and we have icon, it is type object, the object type, which I could actually just now choose the data, and it should swap that to sprite for me. There we go. And then I need to actually send that event off. Move that to the bottom. So that is to a game object. We want to talk to the RTS UI Manager, which has a name. We'll call it Manage. I should just call it Manager. I don't know why I cheaped out on the R. Whatever. And we want to set stats or something stats. I totally forget what the word was looking at, but I think it was show stats. Show stats. There we go. Okay, cool. So that's there. So I can now, let's get rid of him. And I shouldn't have done that because I haven't made a template of it yet. So let's bring that back. Right, there we go. Yeah, okay, so now we can save a template. This is RTS show icon. Now we can get rid of it. Lower toning. Don't get rid of it after you build it without saving it. So you would think I can just run FSM and do it here. Now, and you could do that. It actually would work as long as there is something in your list, right? So when we finish, we don't want to just feed into there and back out, because that ain't gonna freaking work, right? What we want to do is, because this can actually do numerous things, is we want to go into another state here and try to keep these states separate. Those are the commands. So this is, we're drawing the rec and we tell it to stop. So this is the data to show data, and that can go back. So what do we need to do is we need to get this array list count. I'm going to copy and paste it over here, and then we can int compare, to which I could have just copied that as well, but apparently I didn't, the count. So if count is equal to 0, we have nothing to command. Sure, we can use that one. We can send that one back. But if it's greater, okay, we have units. Oh, now, so now you could technically leave it just like that and then go into there. Except there is one more thing that we want to do. So we want another int compare after the first int compare. So we know we're above 0, because if we're 0, we're going here. Are we at 1? If it's equal, have 1 selected. If it's greater, then we have units. Right, so if we have units, screw it, let's just go over here for now. But if we have 1 selected, let's show the icon. Right, so that should now allow us, I should have put the soldier into the camera's view. That would have probably helped. Right, so this guy here, let's move him over so we can actually see him and select him. Or we could use a building. And technically, he has an icon too. So if I select, we get his icon. Now it didn't end, so we probably got something like every frame on somewhere. Oh, I didn't do a finished event. So we have to add that. But anyways, it works, right? There's his icon. So let's quickly just go into this guy. And he doesn't need a finished event right now, but he does need a finish FSM. Right, at the very bottom. Because then up here we can say finished event here is finished, and that goes that way. The other thing, just because I'm going to grab this RTS outline, I'm tired of it being white. I want it green. To me, it just looks better. It looks normal if it's green, not freaking white. So that's cool, but we also need to be able to tell that thing that if we move away, like if we click the left button down, we need to send another event telling it to more or less clear, right? Because we don't want to have that, right? So then we have, let's say, hide stats. Right, so now we have show stats, hide stats. So the other thing we can do, just to make this look a little prettier, is activate. We can activate the icon, and then we can over here just deactivate the icon, and we could also set its sprite to null. Really no need if we're going to deactivate it anyways. So that means here, if we get the left mouse button down, we just need to send event to, I'm just going to drag them in, manager to hide stats. Now I'm going to choose the global RTS UI manager to hide stats. And then he can draw the rec. Right, so now we should technically start with him, say deactivated. And if I activate him, I get my sprite, and I can move him around, and if I left click, I deactivate him. See that? And this is where the beauty part is. Now this is where some things could possibly change, because if you have numerous things, we could either show the first guy in the list, you could rank them and show the highest rank one in the list, or level or something, or show a different icon completely saying you have like an army, right? But if I grab all three, I'm not, right now we have it so we don't show anything. We only show an icon if there's one, right? So if I grab him, we show him. If I grab him, we show him. Now the other thing, especially because of buildings, is I can select things by dragging over them. Okay, cool, but I also want to be able to click on them. See that? I can't fucking click on this thing. I have to drag to select it. That's freaking annoying. Let's fix that. Very easy fix too, right? So we have, like, I'm clicked right there. I should be able to get them right there. So he has in him a start, and that's what we need to more or less so let's add them. Should we add them in the start? Yeah, we should add them in the start, I think. Or should we? Yeah, you know, I think we should. Right? Let's go this way. Let's make a state. And let's mouse pick. And we want to keep this object. And that clicked on object. See how we do the start thing to them? We just want to do that, but to the clicked on object, right? Only so this isn't current, this is the clicked on. And then let's make this one the start state, and this one can finish and go into here. Now there is one change we might have to do. We will see. Because that means we potentially could have, say, 2. Right? Because if I click on him now, apparently I'm lying. Oh, let's see. RTS selector. What? Didn't we add it there? Could have sworn we added it there. Maybe we added it here. So command. So he's saying start. Oh, right. So he is getting that start. I would bet any money. Because if I go into this, we should see him start. But now he's looking at this stuff. Now you see how it's green now, not white. So we kind of need to almost do it in here. All right, because we have position contained. So start. Yeah, we kind of need to just add it in here. If it's right at the start. Contained, yes, no. If it's no, remove. If it's yes, we go up there. But it's this position here, right? Is we want to be able to click on him and add him. So let's not send him the start. No, siree. Instead, let's send him something else. So on the soldier, on our FSM, where we have this, so you know what, we're going to do the command so I can copy and paste it, because on the command, we also get that child. So on the command, let's use him real quick. So he has this. So I think what we'll do to make this simple, not that anything's going to be simple, yes, is we need more or less, if it's a no. If it's a no, we need to test something. We need, okay, let's save that real quick. So let's go up into here, into our selector. Yeah, okay, we're in the selector. Let's go into our start here. And let's make a new output variable. Game object. Let's call it starting object. All right, so now, I guess I could have just used clicked on. We already freaking had it. Whatever. So the starting object is going to be a output. All right, so the store game object now is going to be starting object. And then I am going to, well, starting object. Let's send him an event to start. And that's it, right? So now up here, we should have the starting object. So let's make that into another variable. Oh, might as well call it starting object as well. So we have a starting object. Because now we can get into, say, our command. Ba-doop. And we could see right here, if we are a no, let's get FSM game object. And this is going to be from the RTS manager. Is it? That was the manager, right? So we named him. RTS selector, which is selection. Yeah, he's the RTS manager. So we want to go to the RTS selector once we're in there. Right. So we come into this command. And we want to go into that guy. And that guy has a variable named starting object. And we can even call him starting object in here. And then all we need to do is compare with a game object. Not the tag or anything, just the game object. Ourselves to the starting object. And if they're equal, then we can go here instead. We're kind of intercepting, because this would normally just come down here. So this is saying, hey, if we're the ones clicked on, we're just going to rewire you and make you go that way. And this is going to be not equal. So it is not me. Go somewhere else. Right? So now, because we also did, this is why I chose the command. So we did the, we also did that child for the ring and stuff. So I can go here and replace him, which he's now empty. And I can go replace, he doesn't even have it to begin with. Oh yeah, no, he doesn't have it because he just gave him the stats. We haven't given him anything else yet. All right, so he can paste that. So they all now should technically just work. Like magic. Like freaking magic. Right, so now apparently I already got something messed up there. Because if I click, he just highlights. If I click over here, he unhighlights. Right, and if I click and drag, I can still select them. But there's obviously something, I messed something up with the soldier here. Let's see what he is. So oh, yeah, he doesn't have that ring. We didn't call it ring, right? So make sure to name things properly, or else that will happen to you, right? He also doesn't have the ring, so he needs the ring. So let's go into the let's go to the command, because the command's gonna have the closest thing for him in the ways of size. Copy that one, go into the tent, and paste that one. Right, zero its position out, and it doesn't need to be 1.5, probably just 1. There we go. Okay, now like magic. Right, so if I click, apparently I still don't get the soldier. But that could be because he probably doesn't have a collider. Right, so if I click on him, I can now actually just click on him. I don't have to click and drag, which is way cooler. Right, the soldiers, I'm guessing it's because they don't have colliders. Right, so when I'm clicking, there's nothing to actually click on, which is just flat out stupid of me. So let's add a capsule collider. And the radius can be, 0.5 is actually fine, 1.8 and 0.9 offset. There we go. Now those soldiers should work. They, you know, can actually click on them now. There we go. I can just click and select a soldier, and everything works just fine. And I can also highlight. There we go. Single clicking. We got it. We fixed it. It's there. It's working. So we have the icons and we can single click. Now we want the command that if we click on it, that we could possibly produce. Let's see how long this video is going on, because I don't want this going on too long. Yeah, okay. If it goes on an hour, I guess it's not the end of the world. It wouldn't be the first time. Anyways, so command. What do we want to do? We want to make this guy have an issue, have a command. So we need to fill this stuff up. And you're probably going to put this on with everybody, right? Because even on a soldier, you might have an icon here for attack, maybe one for patrol, one for move, right? You're going to have the different commands. So let's figure that out. We are going to add a hash table. I like hash tables. And this could be commands. And this could be, we'll say, we'll just say 2 for now. So we have build, let's just call it something simple. Soldier, and we'll call it mark. We're going to mark the point. So this actually isn't a game object. This is actually going to be sprites. So what do we need for a sprite if we want to build soldiers? Let's, I don't know, use a sword maybe. And this one could be kind of more or less like their point of where they need to go when they are created. I don't know, but something all crazy, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just something like that. It looks like the guy's moving. So we have soldier and mark. Okay, cool. So we have that. So what we need to do, if we get into our selector, right? So here we have units. We have one selected, and we say show icon. Right, now the other thing is we happen to have now, no, we don't have that. So what we need to really do is tell this show icon, or wait, no, he actually might even be able to do it for us, into our manager. So when he shows stats, he gets the icon. Now in reality, he doesn't technically need the icon. He can actually get it right from the soldier himself. But anyways, so let's say, okay, our command has this. All right, so we want to iterate through that and adjust all those. Because right now we're using a none for sprites, which in reality we should use something, right? Like those should be white and they should have something. You go with some sort of default value, maybe something like that, you know, because you don't want it just white. It looks stupid. You know, something like that even would work. So let's add an FSM real quick. And this will be to set up this guy, those buttons. So we have in this FSM, we're going to have a variable to start off with, because we don't want to lose it, is this window sprite. He is going to be an empty. That's our empty icon. So here we have, we're going to go through the manager selected, right? Because we only have one selected. So array list get, and we're going to go with the selected, and this is going to be on the manager. Oh, not the prop manager, it's for something else. RTS manager. Type game object, and this is our current chosen. So now we have whatever we've clicked on, because he's going to be number 0 in the list. So we've clicked on him, and we know if we've clicked on him, we're going to have this stuff. So now let's come off of him, and let's hash table get next. So the hash table, we know, is going to be a list called commands. And we can do loop. So we need a loop event and we need a finished event because it's a iteration thing. And we have the key. We'll just call, I hit caps locks during that. The key. And we have type object, which is a, oh, let's go over here. Let's make a sprite. You know, it's a really fast way to make this stuff when you want to go through is if I say go like this and I grab one of those and just drag it in and then set its value to none. This is just a fast way to do this. And then just change its name to you know, current icon. Right, so I now have a current icon sprite and the value is none. Nice and simple. So we're going to use current icon, which sets that to sprite automatically. So we've just kind of went backwards and it sets it all up for us because we're sneaky that way. So we're going to loop and we're going to have it done. And if we loop during this loop, we need to go through a list. Like we're going through this list, and as we go through this list, we need to go through a list here and set those images. And when we're done, finish FSM. Right? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want on this guy doesn't need to be a hash table. This one will be a normal array list proxy. And this, we'll call it icons. Pre-fill it to 9. That's how many icons we have. And I'm going to try to drag these in if I can aim the mouse right. Alright, so there's something all fancy. Get this shit in there. So there's our icons, right? So during the loop, we know that we have, as we go through, we need the index, which we don't actually store the index here, which is kind of funny. But whatever. Array list get. So on the globals RTS UI manager, we have a list called icons, and it is going to be type game object, current icon, nope, let's go current slot. And this thing here, we're going to have to set that up. And once we get that, we can UI set sprite. Move to the bottom. So on the current slot, we want to set the current icon. Now we're also going to have to make a default one of these as well, kind of like what we did with the sprite. You have one that sets it and then one that clears it. All right, so there is that. Array list get. So now, the only issue with this is this one's always looking at index 0. We don't want to look at index 0. We want to look at this. So the hash table isn't giving us a index to actually play with, which normally we do, but I don't know why this one doesn't. So what we need to do is when we start, we need an index. Set int value, which is going to be our index. We're just going to make it happen to 0, right? And over here, at index, we want to use our index that we're setting to 0. And then every time we go through this, we want to int add. Make sure we add it after we get it though, right? Or you can even put this in another state. But we're going to add 1 to the index. So we're actually going through the list. And when we're done, we finish FSM. So now that we have that, where did I just put that? That's on the canvas, right? That's on this guy. Yeah, it's right here. I'm not crazy, you're crazy. Okay, so let's save RTS grid icons. And let's get rid of that here. We don't need it there. And under the show stats, we now need a run FSM RTS grid icons. There we go. So we're going to set those up and set those up. Now, that also means you got to make sure to have, you know, that on everything, because everything's looking for it, right? So let's, for example, copy that to the soldier. Now, we don't want to use these same icons or else things are going to, you know, not be able to tell that it's working. So let's say, you know, like you have an attack symbol. And, you know, maybe a move to. And a patrol. So, you know, in reality, you should almost set all 9 of them up, whether you have them or not. Oop. Right, because I mean, really, you should have, like, I should have the other 6 and have them just set to this default window. It would clear one of the steps for us. But that's okay. Let's just take a look at that. All right, so if I build our building, I can see we have an icon. And we're not getting any icons. So let's see why. So he has gone into this guy. And we're using hash table of the owner, which doesn't exist. So, you know, that's obviously something we need to fix because we're not using the owner. We're using this current chosen, right? which is why the whole thing, because this thing's like, hey, because he was guided to look at him, right? And it doesn't have that hash table, right? But see, now he has those items, so I could turn these into buttons and click on them. But if I come over here and click on this guy, he gets those ones. I click on him and those ones change. Right now this one doesn't clear, and I'm pretty sure this one's supposed to change too. Alright, because he has those two. Unless we just, no, I actually literally happen to have those two there. Well, that is crazy weird that I just happened to chose the same icon. So let's change one of those. Right now, like I said though, this is it would become a lot easier to do that if you actually did all 9, right? Because then you could literally just take no, so it's called window 2. All right, let's go back. Let's go to 4. Make this one window 2. Oh, and then tell him to now tell him to go to 9. I have less work to do because it'll just inherit. Oh no, it didn't inherit. Apparently I am a liar. All right, so be it. I'll just drag him in then. Right, and now on the command, we also go to 9. Got to use an actual number. First of all, let's change this guy so that we're not the same as a soldier. Well, there's like an attack. I should have used that for the actual attack. Oh well, not that worried about it. All right, so let's just select, I don't know, some stuff in here. And then let's go with the window. Let's find that, just drag that guy in. There we go. Ba-doop. So like I said, now the only thing we need is that clear. For if, you know, we don't have the icon, we need to clear those. All right, because now if I click on him, right, he has those. Apparently they're not going to go in order for us. Probably alphabetical order or something like that. Mind you, we used a hash table. I guess we really don't need to. We could just use an array proxy, and then it will hold that list. But anyways, right? So like I said, now we just need to clear, and that's just going to be a very simple. When we go to hide stats, we also want to let's come off of here and go down here and array list get next, and we have our icons, and we're going to have a loop event in here, and of course a done event in here, and the type is game object, and it's going to be the current slot. So we now have a loop and a done in here. Done can literally do nothing, it just needs to sit there. But during the loop, all we need to do is, we're going through all those, and we UI set sprite. Now we'll use our default window. Hopefully you have better icons than this. And that's it, right? So now it's going to be a matter of, oh, we have a null. So there it's there, and if I click away, we have, like I said, we have some sort of reference here. We have an issue. Oh yeah. Again, a very simple little, I said use owner. Obviously we're not an owner, we're using the current slot. Current slot, there we go. Be amazed how often I do that. I mean, you get to see a lot of it, so. Right, so if I click, we have that. If I click away, it clears. Click it, go away, go that, go there. We have him, we get that one. Right, we select a bunch of them, we don't get any, because we haven't put any of that in yet. Right, and I can select them all, and I can tell these guys to move, and they'll move. This guy, he just sits still. Right, and now it's just a matter of, now I can't click on these things, because the minute I left click, we do that. And that's actually a really, really easy fix. That's literally just a matter of, we have left click. Over UI. Is the pointer over UI? Yes and no. And if no, go there. If yes, just go back. Right, because now, if I highlight him and I go and click, I mean, obviously nothing happens. We haven't put any logic here, but it's not clearing, right? Because we're over the UI, right? Same if I click here, right? But now if I click over here, it goes away. Click over here, it doesn't go away. All right, that's probably lots for this video.